I'm Steve in IT, and I'm a network security engineer by trade and training. And that means I've used a lot of different tools from Cisco and Palo, firewalls, IPS, wireless protection systems, even NDR systems. So yeah, I've been exposed to a lot of tools. But I'll tell you, there's one tool that I've come to embrace that required no certification, no special training. It really just required a few YouTube videos and a download off the internet, and that's Git. Now, when I started using Git, I used a different program to interact with GitHub at the time, but I've recently embraced GitHub Desktop for the simple reason that it's incredibly easy to communicate to people who aren't so enthusiastic about using what they see as a development tool, how to use this for their own benefit and to push their own efforts and hopefully their career too. So in a shorter time than I've been talking to you, we're going to pull down GitHub Desktop, install it, and then we're going to clone one of my projects that is on my public repo. And that's it. We're going to be able to see how to interact with code in a way that doesn't require any computer science courses or any, I don't know, languages made of alphabet soup or snakes. So let's do that now. So we're going to browse to desktop.github.com, and they've got installers for Windows and Mac. You can probably find some stuff on GitHub for Linux distributions, but we're just going to download that. I already did. This is my second take recording this. And we're going to run that installer. Already did, again, second take. And then you'll be greeted by GitHub Desktop once you run that. Now, I already had my GitHub Desktop running. It's going to detect all the Git files on this system, and it's pulled those down right here in the repository list. But what I want to do is show you how to begin interacting immediately with GitHub with GitHub Desktop. So we're going to pull down my WebGoat repo after removing it by going to File, Clone Repository, and then I can actually see it here alongside some other projects, different stuff that I've worked on. But from your perspective, you're going to go to URL, and then we're going to grab that URL from GitHub. So we'll go to github.com/StephenIT, and then you'll see WebGoat for Ubuntu 2204. Click that, and you'll see this page. Now, this is all the code on GitHub related to that video. I think it was 2 videos back, but WebGoat's cool. You should check it out. This is a quick way to grab it. So we're going to grab code, and then we're going to take this URL, click the copy button. Why not make it even easier? And we're going to pull GitHub Desktop back up and paste it right there in the URL. Now, I already have this repo on here, so it's going to kick out that error, but I can go around that really easy by appending a _test on there. And then hit clone. And that's it. I now have a copy of that repository and all my WebGoat installation stuff for Ubuntu 2204 right here on this Windows machine if I want to interact with it and make any changes to the code. I can just open in external editor, and you can change that in options or up in the preferences. So I'm going to pull this open in Sublime Text. Anyone can grab this. And then there's the script that I use to install WebGoat on Ubuntu with a Docker container. And that's it. Now you can start using GitHub. There's more to understanding pushing code up and down, and you can get that in more detail in the description down below. I've included 2 videos from FireShip.
Git, a system for keeping track of changes that happen across a set of files.
And they do a great job of explaining what Git is and a little more detail on Git and GitHub. But ultimately, I think pretty much everyone can find like a hour of videos on YouTube, and that's most of what they're ever going to need for their career for Git if they're not an actual developer. I highly recommend pursuing this skill. It's incredibly valuable. You can find router template configs. You can find Ansible for network automation, or Puppet and Chef scripts. There's a ton of stuff out there on GitHub and on other Git labs around the internet or projects, stuff like that. So I highly recommend, if you've been holding off using Git because you feel like there's some barrier and you don't want to learn a new tool, well, you don't have to. All you have to do is pull down GitHub Desktop, find what you want on GitHub, and clone it down, start interacting with it. So I hope this helps.